210. Khuddaka Jataka. O friend, etc. This was told by the master, during a stay in Velavana, about Devadatta's attempts to imitate him. When he heard of these attempts to imitate him, the master said, "This is not the first time Devadatta has destroyed himself by imitating me. The same thing happened before." Then he told this story. Once upon a time, when Brahmadatta was king of Benares, the bodhisattva entered into life as a woodpecker. In a wood of acacia trees he lived, and his name was Khuddaka, the bird of the acacia wood. He had a comrade named Khuddaka, or eat bulb, who got his food in a wood full of good fruit. One day the friend went to visit Khuddaka. "My friend is come," thought Khuddaka, and he led him into the acacia wood, and pecked at the tree trunks until the insects came out, which he gave to his friend. As each was given him, the friend pecked it up, and ate it, as if it were a honey cake. As he ate, pride arose in his heart. "This bird is a woodpecker," thought he, "and so am I. What need for me to be fed by him? I will get no own food in this acacia wood." So he said to Khuddaka, "Friend, don't trouble yourself, I will get my own food in the acacia wood." Then said the other, "You belong to a tribe of birds which finds its food in a forest of pithless silk cotton trees, and trees that bear abundant fruit. But the acacia is full of pith, and hard. Please do not do so." "What?" said Khuddaka, "am I not a woodpecker?" And he would not listen, but pecked at an acacia trunk. In a moment his beak snapped off, and his eyes fell out of his head, and his head split. So not being able to hold fast to the tree, he fell to the ground, repeating the first verse. "O friend, what is this thorny, cool-leaved tree which at one blow has broke my beak for me?" Having heard this, Khuddaka recited the second stanza. This bird was good for rotten wood and soft. But once he tried, by some ill hap, hard trees to tap, and broke his skull, and died. So said Khuddaka, and added, "O Khuddaka, the tree where you broke your head is hard and strong." But the other perished then and there. When the master had ended this discourse, he identified the birth. Devadatta was Khuddaka, but Khuddaka was I myself. Jataka number 211. Somadatta Jataka. All the year long never ceasing, etc. This story the master told while living at Jetavana monastery, about elder monk Laladayi, or Udayi the simpleton. This man, we learn, was unable to get out a single sound in the presence of 2 or 3 people. He was so very nervous, that he said one thing when he meant another. It happened that the brethren were speaking of this as they sat together in the hall of truth. The master came in, and asked what they were talking of as they sat there together. They told him. He answered, "Brethren, this is not the first time that Laladayi has been a very nervous man. It was just the same before." And he told an old world tale. Once upon a time, while Brahmadatta was king of Benares, the bodhisattva was born into a certain Brahmin family in the kingdom of Kasi. When he came of age, he went to study at Taxila. On returning he found his family poor. And he said his parents farewell and set out to Benares, saying to himself, "I will set up my fallen family again." At Benares he became the king's attendant. And he grew very dear to the king and became a favorite. Now his father lived by plowing the land, but he had only 1 pair of oxen. And one of them died. He came before the bodhisattva, and said to him, "Son, one of my oxen is dead, and the plowing does not go on. Ask the king to give you 1 ox." "No, father," answered he, "I have but just now seen the king. I should not ask him for oxen now. You ask him." "My son," said his father, "you do not know how bashful I am. If there are 2 or 3 people present I cannot get a word out. If I go to ask the king for an ox, I shall end by giving him this one. Father, said the Bodhisattva, what must be, must be. I cannot ask the king. But I will train you to do it. So he led his father to a cemetery where there were clumps of sweet grass. And tying up bunch of it, he scattered them here and there, and named them one by one, pointing them out to his father. That is the king, that is the viceroy, this is the chief captain. Now, father, when you come before the king, you must first say, long live the king. And then repeat this verse, to ask for an ox. And this is the verse he taught him. I had 2 oxen to my plough, with which my work was done, but one is dead. O mighty prince, please give me another one. For the space of a whole year the man learnt this couplet. And then he said to his son, Dear Somadatta, I have learnt the lines. Now I can say it before any man. Take me to the king. So the Bodhisattva, taking a suitable present, led his father into the king's presence. Long live the king, cried the Brahmin, offering his present. Who is this Brahmin, Somadatta? The king asked. Great king, it is my father, he answered. Why has he come here? Asked the king. Then the Brahmin repeated his couplet, to ask for the ox. I had 2 oxen to my plough, with which my work was done, but one is dead. O mighty prince, please take the other one. The king saw that there was some mistake. Somadatta, said he, smiling, you have plenty of oxen at home, I suppose? If so, great king, they are your gift. At this answer the king was pleased. He gave the man, for a Brahman's offering, 16 oxen, with fine saddle cloth, and a village to live in, and sent him away with great honor. The Brahmin ascended a chariot drawn by Sind horses, pure white, and went to his living in great pomp. As the Bodhisattva sat beside his father in the chariot, said he, Father, I taught you the whole year long, and yet when the moment came you gave your ox to the king. And he uttered the first stanza. All the year long never ceasing with unwearied diligence where the sweet grass grows in clusters day by day he practiced it. When he came amid the courtiers all at once he changed the sense. Practice truly nothing availed if a man has little wit. When he heard this, the Brahmin uttered the second stanza. He that asks, Dear Somadatta, takes his chance between the two, may get more, or may get nothing. When you ask, it is ever so. When the master by this story had shown how simpleton Udayi had been just as bashful before as he was then, he identified the birth. Laladayi was the father of Somadatta, and I was Somadatta myself. Jataka number 212. Uchita Bhata Jataka. Hot that top, etc. This is a story told by the master while at Jetavana monastery, about one who yearned after a lost wife. The brother in question was asked by the master if he really was lovesick. Yes, he said, so he was. For whom? Was the next question. For my late wife. Brother, the master said, this same woman in former days was wicked, and made you eat the leftovers of her paramour. Then he told this story of the past. Once upon a time, while Brahmadatta was reigning in Benares, the Bodhisattva was born as one of a family of poor acrobats, that lived by begging. So when he grew up, he was needy and squalid, and by begging he lived. There was at the time, in a certain village of Kasi, a Brahmin whose wife was bad and wicked, and did wrong. And it happened that the husband went abroad one day upon some matter, and her lover watching his time went to visit the house. After she had received him, he said, I will eat a bit before I go. So she made ready the food, and served up rice hot with sauce and curry, and gave it him, asking him eat. She herself stood at the door, watching for the Brahman's coming. And while the lover was eating, the Bodhisattva stood waiting for a morsel. At that moment the Brahman set his face for home. And his wife saw him coming near, and ran in quickly, up, my man is coming. and she made her lover go down into the storeroom. The husband came in. She gave him a seat, and water for washing the hands. And upon the cold rice that was left by the other she turned out some hot rice, and set it before him. He put his hand into the rice, and felt that it was hot above and cold below. This must be someone else's leftovers, thought he. And so he asked the woman about it in the words of the first stanza. Hot at top, and cold at bottom, not alike it seems to be. I would ask you for the reason. Come, my lady, answer me. Again and again he asked, but she, fearing otherwise her deed should be discovered, held her peace. Then a thought came into our tumbler's mind. The man down in the storeroom must be a lover, and this is the master of the house. The wife says nothing, for fear that her deed be made manifest. Soho, I will tell about the whole matter, and show the brahmin that a man is hidden in his larder. And he told him the whole matter. How that when he had gone out from his house, another had come in, and had done evil. How he had eaten the first rice, and the wife had stood by the door to watch the road. And how the other man had been hidden in the storeroom. And in so saying, he repeated the second stanza. I am a tumbler, sir. I came on begging here intent. He that you seek is hiding in the storeroom, where he went. By his top knot he brought the man out of the storeroom, and told him to take care not to do the same again. And then he went away. The Brahmin rebuked and beat them both, and gave them such a lesson that they were not likely to do the same again. Afterwards he passed away to fare according to his deeds. When the master had ended his discourse, he explained the truths, and identified the birth. At the conclusion of the truths the lovesick brother reached the fruit of the first path. Your late wife was then the Brahmin's lady. You, the lovesick brother, were the Brahmin himself, and I was the tumbler.